3 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being on board with us. Lots to get to on today's program as we continue getting ready for a big one on Saturday at Williams-Brice, South Carolina, at least according to ESPN Bet, which I think is affiliated with ESPN, but maybe not wholly owned by Disney.
I mean, if they're not affiliated with ESPN, I think a cease and desist letter is in order.
Yeah, I don't know how that works exactly.
That could be, that's not a game I'd want to play.
Yeah. 7-point underdogs are the Gamecocks. The over-under has ticked down 1 point from yesterday. Now 49.5. Yesterday it was 50.5.
Ooh.
And the South Carolina percentage chance, according to the FPI, 48.7.
48.7.
48.7% chance to win the game.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Now that means LSU has a 51.3% chance to win the game.
But we are teetering on a coin toss here, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I just we had our buddy Matt Moscona on yesterday. I just did a hit with their station, and I know we're going to talk about it a lot. And Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports will be with us in a little bit. I think there's every reason to believe that the number one matchup is indeed the South Carolina D-line against the LSU O-line. Hunt Palmer does their midday show, and I was just telling him, and I don't know how you would measure this. So hear me out. Let me see what you think, Mr. Campbell. But let's say that matchup is a push. Is that advantage LSU? Or does it negate, like, entirely? Because to me, all right, if it's a push, again, however someone, let's say PFF could measure that at the end of the game. I would say it's advantage LSU because they'd probably see it as more of a, well, hey, we didn't lose that battle, therefore we found a way to get Nussmeier going just enough, because that's what they're going to want/need to do primarily. They will be able to run the football a little bit. And South Carolina has not proven that it is very good at stopping the run.
It's not bulletproof, at least. How about that? Situationally, I think they've been fine.
Yeah, and I think LSU ultimately, I think, like a lot of football teams, they will attempt to establish some ground game first. To what degree, I don't know. But again, last week, the good news for Carolina, obviously, was that even though Kentucky said, we can't throw, they didn't score. And really, they should have only gotten the 3.
Defense really only gave up 3 points.
Yeah, the second 3 points, that didn't need to happen, my opinion.
Because they were gifted field position pretty deep.
And I know that's a shared opinion, but that's my opinion. So again, if however you want to measure it, if the Carolina D-line versus LSU O-line battle is deemed a push at the end of the game, I would say that means slight advantage for LSU. But maybe I'm looking at that from a different perspective than some might.
Well, I think the nature of offensive line is protective, right? It's reactionary. And when you just look at how good the tackles for LSU have been with Will Campbell and Emory Jones, I mean, they haven't given up a sack, and Garrett Nussmeier has only been touched twice. You could consider a push, maybe 1 sack on Nussmeier and 3 or 4 quarterback hits, because then you would have still doubled the amount of hits he's had in the first 2 games, and you would have already given him, would have sacked him, which is something that hasn't happened all season long. So in a way, you can look at that as a push, because South Carolina didn't dominate it. LSU still allowed Nussmeier to get hit. But even then, if that's the push that we're talking about, and that's what a push looks like in this scenario, then it benefits LSU a whole lot more, just because what they would be able to do on the perimeter would make life tough on South Carolina. Not to say the secondary isn't up for that challenge, but then that also focuses the attention on what I think is the biggest individual matchup of this game, and that's O'Donnell Fortune versus Kyron Lacy. Yeah. Kyron Lacy has a large target share for this LSU team. Him and Nussmeier clearly have the best chemistry of all of the receivers or pass catchers on this LSU team. And between Kyron Lacy and Mason Taylor alone, just those two, they make up over 42% of LSU's targets this year. Those two are pretty big. South Carolina's got one lockdown corner. Can O'Donnell Fortune be a lockdown corner? It's going to force him to be the most important player on that defense if we do have a push between LSU's offensive line and the South Carolina defensive line.
And what does LSU do to throw away from Fortune? How quickly did they put guys in motion? How differently how did they look in terms of certain formations that they want to throw out there? Look, I think Swain and Collier are getting better. They're not Fortune. And you're going to have to see more from, and he played well last week, but you'll need to see more from Nick Emenwari in terms of helping out. Kilgore will, I think, there'll be a lot of that. And how they can tax that South Carolina secondary. They'll also, we sit here and say they'll want to establish a ground game first, but who knows? I mean, what if
they're pass heavy?
Yeah, what if they stretch the field first? Like, hey, let's go for a couple of deep shots. Let's immediately get them on their heels. I don't know. And then for South Carolina, the same kind of thing. I mean, we can't sit here and just believe that LSU is going to dominate this game. Does Carolina get better up front? As Dowell talked about in his comments yesterday, not everything you see in terms of negative plays is solely on the big five guys up front. A lot of that has to do with tight ends and receivers as well, even perhaps sometimes what the running backs are doing. So, Carolina's got to show that progression, and there could be a little bit of weakness. That's too. I don't like that word. But
vulnerability.
But I know we're playing semantics at that point, but with Guillory out for the season, you lose a quality starting D tackle with experience in this league. That's a thing. Yeah, how much of one? I don't know. I don't know. And does LSU come into this one from a mental standpoint a lot differently than last week, where maybe, listen, we've seen it enough in football in our lives. Sometimes you just don't take a AA team, an FCS team, that seriously. You always say, we hear it all the time, hey, the one thing we can expect is max effort. And that's fair as fans in any sport, at any level. But we also know that that doesn't always happen. And against a team, that you've never played, that you don't know much about, you're just kind of like, eh. And eventually somebody, Brian Kelly, I suppose, looked at LSU's players and said, we're only winning by 2. If we lose, I'm going to throw you into the Gulf of Mexico. And so, and then they ended up winning by 23 points or whatever.
And avoided the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes, which is nice. I'm sure it's fine to swim in if you do it on purpose, but if they take you out in a boat and just drop you,
not so fun.
Not as fun as you might want it to be.
That's where the sharks live.
Yeah, probably got a lot of them too.
That's their house.
Don't need any of that. So, LSU, again, all of their goals are in front of them, other than the undefeated season. But that's been gone for a couple of weeks, so they've forgotten about that one, if that was even a goal that they really cared about.
Well, that's not lasted more than a week into the season since Brian Kelly took over. So this is not uncharted territory for them. And usually they're really good on the road to start SEC play or at the beginning of SEC play. They've done a pretty good job of bouncing back and making themselves relevant in the conference. Just 2 years ago, they went to the SEC championship game after losing the opener to Florida State, took care of business in SEC play, and the rest is history. They salvaged a pretty good season. If the mentality coming into this is where they really put their best foot forward. Maybe there was a little bit of a look ahead at the Nicholls State game, right? I mean, maybe there was a little bit of, hey, we got to play this FCS team, and we have to exert a little more energy because we got popped in the mouth to start the game because they're running it down our throat and getting whatever they want on one side of the ball. And you kind of turn on some gears late, but maybe they knew the next week was going to be the first big game of your season in terms of what actually matters, and that's getting to Atlanta. Because as we know, with this expanded college football playoff, a trip to Atlanta will all but guarantee a trip to the college football playoff. That game will just decide not just a conference championship, but whether you are playing in the first round of the college football playoff or not. The conference, it's almost kind of like high school football in a way, right? Where now, like, you can take a loss in your non-region play, and it really not matter, because what matters is winning your region.
Right.
That's how you get a number one seed. Now it's what matters is really winning your conference. Conference games are now weighed way more heavily than the non-conference games do. This is where you're going to see, I think, maybe a full array of the playbook that LSU has on offense, maybe some looks they haven't used on defense, which means putting Harold Perkins in an actual position where he can succeed on a football field instead of hiding him at the middle linebacker position. Maybe, just spitballing on that one. But I think this LSU team is going to come in here and you're going to see them get, South Carolina's going to get their best punch.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, the goals are still in front of them. And there is so much more that they can show that they didn't really show against Nicholls State.
Yeah. And even some of the things they did poorly against Southern California, just like we talked about with South Carolina's, performance against Old Dominion, they were things that are very correctable. If they start getting them corrected, that could be a bad sign for South Carolina and a lot of teams moving forward that we'll see LSU. We've given you kind of our biggest battle. Again, the Gamecock D-line versus the LSU O-line. What do you guys think? 803-404-6100. Hit us up on the text line. Is that the big battle? I'll ask the question again. I know it's kind of rhetorical. If that's a push, do you think that's advantage LSU, or is it just a push overall and then other facets of the game become more pronounced? Is there another battle that you think is even more important than that one? Again, we'd like to hear from you on the Firehouse Subs text line. We'll read those throughout the day, 803-404-6100. We also have not a poll question today.
Mix it up a little bit.
But, and you're getting a lot of response to this.
Getting a whole lot of response to this. This has been fun, and even you have been nominated as a part of this.
Yeah, thank you, DJ Shock.
Instead of a poll question, we just went ahead and asked, since, it's not been made public yet, who the guest picker is going to be on College Game Day. We just asked at 1075 The Game on Twitter. I mean, it's our pinned tweet, so if you just go to our page, it's the first thing you're going to see. And we tweet, the College Game Day guest picker is yet to be named. If it were up to you, who would you choose to be the celebrity guest picker? And we have an array of options. There are a lot of good ones. Some serious, some really funny. But we've gotten over 66 comments and a lot of different quote tweets to go through. So
go to our Twitter feed, 1075 The Game. Leave yours, or if you'd like to just include that with any other comment on the Firehouse Subs text line, please do, 803-404-6100. Bill Gunner will be joining us throughout the afternoon. He is at the Hardee's in Blythewood, helping with the Hardee's Roundup to benefit the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students, which is a great cause throughout the month of September at all local Midlands Hardee's. So that's very cool. And Gunner, like Ford last week, is just out there with his legs propped up, eating some chicken.
That sounds delicious.
Or maybe a Hardee's roast beef.
Or
maybe he got him to make him some biscuits. I don't know. Or a burger.
Now, the biscuits afternoon would be quite the accomplishment.
Yeah. Maybe that chicken BLT. That sounded pretty good.
That did sound really good. Yeah. Didn't even know that was on the menu. That sounds delicious.
I didn't either. So there's that. But Gunner will be joining us. And again, Brad Crawford, one of our favorite people, coming up in about, let's call it 15, 20 minutes. Looking forward to talking with Brad with his thoughts on this game and more around college football. Again, hit us up, 803-404-6100. It's the Thursday postgame show. Now the football season is here. You need to find the best way to watch football, all right? Whether it's the college games, the pro games, even the occasional high school game that makes the national spotlight. Do it all better, kids, with integrated media. With just one call, Integrated can install the latest in 4K technology from Samsung, including the new frame TVs that look like museum-quality art. When they're not tuned in, they're very cool. Mrs. Phillips really wants one of those. I guess it's probably about that time. You couple that with a built-in Dolby surround system, and it's like you're part of the action. You want to go outdoors? Well, Integrated installs outdoor home theater built around the Samsung Terrace TV. Enhanced with Sonos outdoor speaker system, the equipment is built to be outside all year. Trust me, looks and sounds like anything inside does. All right? And listen, the equipment, same price as the big box store, but the expertise is something you can't beat. Call my friends at Integrated Media, 803-948-8327, and feel like you are there with Integrated Media. $18 minutes after 3 o'clock. Sorry, rushed my life away. It's not 4 yet, Jay. 3:18. 3:18.
Wow. Can't live in the present. Always looking ahead.
When's Christmas?
Not now.
Yeah. Before we talk to Bill Gunner, where it's Christmas every day at his house, we do have some news for you. We were just talking about this, and it is confirmed. And I kind of thought this the whole time. Dawn Staley will be the guest picker on Saturday's College Game Day.
Hell yeah.
I mean.
Appropriate.
Yeah. Yes.
She's a rock star.
Yes. Yes. It should be Dawn. And like I said, if it wasn't going to be Dawn, it should be Asia. I know some people were saying Trick Williams. That'd have been cool. People said George Rogers. That'd have been cool. It really, you start to get a little too far down the rabbit hole, and while there may be some other fine choices, you got to keep this within the realm of reality to some degree.
The Cornbread Cowboy stuff is really funny, mostly because I read Cornbread Cowboy, and I read it to the tune of Glenn Campbell's Rhinestone Cowboy, and then it makes me think of that song. So that's a plus. But no, Don Staley's the biggest star in town. It's a no-brainer for me.
Why can't you read it to the tune of Wichita Lineman?
Well, because I think, it's not the same. Also, great song, though.
Not going to lie, I know he was a big star when I was a kid. Those are the only two Glenn Campbell songs I know. I probably know another one. Bill Gunner probably does. Bill's at the Hardee's in Blythewood. How many Glenn Campbell songs do you know?
Absolutely zero. Couldn't even tell you who Glenn Campbell is.
Oh, come on, man. Your dad, the next time you see your dad, who I am a gigantic fan of, he's gonna smack you upside the head and go, boy, I did better than this with you.
Wait a minute. Was Glenn Campbell, is he an Eagle?
No, he was not.
Okay, no clue who Glenn is. So there we go. So the last two segments of I shouldn't say because I call it the end of you showing up and complaining about the sunlight in the studio and
the lack of. Yeah, no, it's a cave in here, man.
Well, you should try working in the mornings. It's an interesting experience.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. Y'all really upset me with one particular comment. I can't remember what exactly it was. I've already forgotten because it was such quality radio.
Probably about you just propping your feet up eating chicken.
That will happen here. Yes, yeah, and people can come join me. I'm at 100 Creech Road here in Blythewood, exit 27, actually just across the interstate from Cobblestone Golf Club, Cobblestone Park, whatever, where it looks like I'll be playing golf in a few weeks, but you can come by and hang out. And we've got the Hunger Action Month going on, where if you round up, you come out here and you are right. I'm holding some I'm holding one chicken tender right now, not three all in one. I don't do that, but or at least I don't keep 3 pieces of chicken in my hand, quite like I might do with beverages on a Saturday morning gearing up for game day. But
I don't believe you.
Yeah, no, not in the least, right? But come out and round up your meal and go to the nearest dollar, and all of a sudden that money goes to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students, and so you can have a great cause, contribute to a great cause, get some great food. I have actually a hot take on Hardee's that I don't know how people would handle this. Ooh. I think that I go with, if I have to pick a breakfast sausage biscuit, I think Hardee's is number 1 on my list. Mm.
I don't know if that's a hot take, man. That's a very fair.
It's a top 3 biscuit in general.
Strong take. Hardee's breakfast, man. That's
their strength.
It's the real deal.
No breakfast right now, but yes, I would go heavy on the Hardee's breakfast. I'll be here till about 6 today, talking to you, lovely fellas, and listening to whatever y'all are talking about. Dawn Staley is guest picker. You might want to mention she is going to be on set at 10:40. I was just reading this. She will be on set at 10:40 out at Gamecock Park, and then we'll come back at 11:40 for the actual pick'em.
Cool.
Oh, that's
So she's going to get some double time.
That's right. Well, you got to think her walking up is going to be a big deal. And I don't know, is Nick Saban? He's in which one is he? He's in.
Aflac.
He's not in the same. Is that what Staley's in as well?
Yeah, she and Coach K do their spots, and then Dion and Coach Saban do that. Yeah, so maybe the Duck will show up too.
There you go. Just take yeah. So it should be, with all the rain, you might have a whole bunch of ducks, but yeah, should be a fun day. Great for her. Great recognition. Of course, they're going to honor the women's team as well in their national championship and their SEC championship. So that's a great way to start. And maybe have her give a motivational speech. Now the big question becomes, who pops out of the train?
Ooh, I don't know.
Maybe that's Trick Williams.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Because we did talk about. His events for WWE have been
postponed.
Has been removed from it. So I mean,
yeah.
All right. Yeah. That could be a thing. Well, I hope you remember whatever else it is that you didn't like that we said, and that you.
There was a very odd hot take on Old School. You did not like Dumb and Dumber, which was very dumb and
yeah. I don't like Dumb and Dumber. Man. I'm sorry.
Come on, Jay.
I've tried.
Boo this man.
Yeah. I just don't.
By the way, it was Bad Monkey. Bad Monkey is the current, I think it's Apple TV is what Vince Vaughn is on, and it's basically Vince Vaughn just playing himself.
Okay.
But he's a detective. If you like Vince Vaughn just saying, just being the sarcastic jerk, if you will, that he is, It's actually, but it's a weird show. It's almost like a cross between. It's almost like he took what he tried to do, which was really bad in True Detective in that second season.
Yes.
And kind of apply it to this. And it's a very odd, but it is Vince Vaughn being everything that Vince Vaughn has made his career to be.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, couple hot takes there. Couple hot takes there. And what was the last one? Psycho. I remember watching both the original and the Vince Vaughn remake, and I do agree with you. The second one with Vince Vaughn, awful. It should be burned and deleted from movies.
Well, yeah, there was less than zero reason to make it. Less than, I mean, I don't know if that's actually a thing that you can have.
I couldn't finish
life.
it. I tried watching
it was
many
terrible.
moons ago
and completely unnecessary. Psycho, for a guy that doesn't like, and I don't know if that's really a horror movie. That's more of a suspense thriller, Hitchcock movie. But, I mean, it does have a couple of really good jump scares in it, if you will, right? Like a couple of the most famous of all time. But zero reason to remake that film. Zero.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Well, people, if they want to come out and join me for that conversation, again, 100 Creech Road here in Blythewood. You get off, if you're coming from Columbia and you're heading to Charlotte, you get off the exit, you go right. Hardee's is 0.1 mile on your right, and again, come out and support the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. As we actually had a discussion this morning after Dylan Stewart's comment about what his favorite meal is. There's not a lot of students out there eating like Dylan Stewart is, with New York strips, lobster tail, Parmesan fries, and cream corn. But, yeah, it's a great thing that we're doing. Come on out, get yourself some food, round up your tip to the nearest dollar, and all donations, all proceeds go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students.
Good stuff. All right, he's Bill Gunner. We got a few more visits with him, and, of course, you'll hear him tomorrow morning with Coach P and Jen starting at 6 o'clock. Maybe I'll get some Hardee's biscuits. I don't know.
There you go. I can't wait. 3:45. I get to talk to you.
We'll talk to you again in just a little bit. That's right. We'll talk to Brad Crawford in between. Bill knows me, and I remember the old Hardee's and 5 Points. It's where the Chick-fil-A is now. And I like Chick-fil-A just fine, but I do kind of miss that Hardee's, man. I got a lot of breakfast at that Hardee's and 5 Points when I was a USC student. I'll tell you that much. All right, thank you, Mr. Gunner. Appreciate you.
Tell Crawford, hold him to his prediction. He said South Carolina was going to lose to Kentucky but beat LSU.
Okay.
When he was on with us a few weeks ago. Hold him to that. So we'll talk to you in a little while.
All right, sir. Good stuff. Bill's out in Blythewood at Hardee's. Good stuff. Helping out a great cause, too. Again, Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. Very good cause. And you can do that at any Hardee's, by the way, not just the one where Bill is. You can round up at any Midlands area Hardee's.
Very convenient.
And help the kids. So, again, Dawn Staley is the guest picker.
It's exciting.
I really did. I told you the other day, I'm going to be mildly surprised if it's not. It makes too much sense. And I'm not going to say, it's the right, but I basically will say that. It's the right call.
I mean, think about it. College game day. Big deal. They usually go pretty big when it comes to the celebrity guest picker, and really this is the peak of Dawn's celebrity right now, given the national championships, her history, all of that. She is what she did, helping NBC cover the Olympics. Yeah, I mean she's
Dawn Staley, man.
It makes perfect sense.
She's about to be a one-namer. She's just Dawn.
Just Dawn, yeah. Like Pele.
Right. Cher. Madonna.
Dawn.
So there you go. Good stuff. Congratulations, Coach. All right. We'll get right back into Carolina, LSU, and some other college football talk. Our good friend Brad Crawford, national college football analyst for 24/7 Sports, will join us when the postgame show returns.
Yeah, our streaming might be free, but there's something else that you can get free, and that's my friends at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss. Their buy one, get one weight loss journey package, because look, they're celebrating over a year of being in the Midlands and helping so many people, quite like myself, achieve their weight loss goal. Now, they were here in August of last year, so technically last month was the whole celebration, but they're extending it. They're extending the year anniversary celebration up to September 30th, so you can get a buy one, get one offer to be able to experience a weight loss journey with Columbia Secret for Weight Loss with a friend or family member. And of course, they do all of this with fantastic coaching and without having to use any shots, any pills, and effective results that I can attest to. And if that sounds great to you, give them a call, 803-824-4210. Again, that's 803-824-4210, or hit them up, ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com. Results may vary.
Talking Gamecock football as the Carolina Gamecocks get ready to take on LSU Saturday afternoon at Williams-Brice. We'll have all morning coverage for you ahead of a noon kick. And again, if you didn't hear it in the last segment, Dawn Staley has officially been named as the guest picker for game day, which makes a whole lot of sense. To discuss all of that and more, we welcome back onto the program Brad Crawford, the national college football analyst for 24/7 Sports and a great friend of all of us here. Gunner said, hey, good to have you, sir, as always. Hope you're doing well. Gunner said that I was to hold you to a prediction that you made on his program that South Carolina was going to beat LSU but lose to Kentucky. I know you can't hold it to the Kentucky thing because that already happened. So how you feeling now?
Jay, I thought 1-1 after the first two SEC games was where this Gamecock team was going to be. So if they get beat Saturday, I'm right on the mark. But I did pick South Carolina to win this LSU game about a month ago, and I'm sticking to it, man, because I just don't think LSU is an elite team. I did not have them in the playoff in the first part of the season, and through two games, this is the LSU team I thought they were. They're not as good as maybe usual up front on defense. They have some issues at the back end, and my primary question this weekend is, can this Gamecock offense, which has made 2 or 3 really quality plays in about 8 quarters of football so far, can it make enough explosive plays in the passing game to maybe win this game?
When you look at the number one matchup, and I want your take on this, Elijah and we talked to our buddy Matt Moscona, who you know, yesterday. It's the Gamecock D-line against the LSU O-line. You've got guys on the ends on both sides, the tackles for LSU, the edge guys for Carolina that are very, very good. Is that the number one battle in your opinion?
Yeah, Will Campbell's one of the best offensive tackles in the country, probably the best player at his position that Dylan Stewart or Kyle Kennard is going to face this season. I do think O'Donnell Fortune, South Carolina cornerback, against Kyron Lacey, LSU's really, I consider their only playmaking receiver. That's a huge matchup, too. I mean, it's a secondary that maybe has not been tested yet because of how good that Gamecock pass rush has been, but this is a very good LSU O-line. Has not allowed a sack yet, and I think Garrett Nussmeier, there's going to be some times where he has opportunities to hit guys downfield, and you know, how the back end of that defense in center field looks for the Gamecocks is going to be vitally important in winning that ball game.
And Brad, when I watched both the LSU's games against Southern Cal and Nicholls State, I wasn't overly impressed with the run defense. I thought for an offensive line like Nicholls State, they got way too much push, where they're able to convert on 3rd and 4th and short, even in obvious running situations like in the Wildcat, and in situations where LSU still loaded the box and couldn't stop them from picking up first downs. And that was the case for about 2.5 quarters of the game. But you look at the South Carolina run offense that they're really trying to get going, trying to make strides in that run blocking scheme. Like, what do you, well, here's a better way to phrase it. Do you think that is South Carolina's pathway to being able to put up enough points to be able to win this game and be able to get the ball into LSU territory consistently enough to pull this off?
I think Gamecock wide receivers and somebody stepping up there is going to be the difference in this game if South Carolina wins this ball game. I don't foresee South Carolina rushing for 200 yards. This offensive line through 2 weeks, man, has given up more tackles for losses than any team in the SEC. And that's Rocket Sanders is frustrated at times because he's getting the football and already has 2 defensive tackles in his face. And that being said, LSU's D-line, as you said, does not have the personnel to be an elite up front. Harold Perkins is, I think, their best edge rusher, and he's playing outside linebacker for the 2nd straight year. They still have him misplayed there. And then post-spring practice, LSU missed out on a top defensive tackle in the portal. They let him take more money and go to TCU. So there's some personnel issues for LSU on defense. This is not an elite group on that side of the football, and I think we saw last week at Kentucky, Lenora Sellers took strides and was an improved passer, and you might can see that even more so on Saturday.
Yeah, let's stay with that. Talking to Brad Crawford, 24/7 Sports, I wanted to take you there. So expound on that in terms of measuring Lenoris from week 1 to week 2. Clearly the efficiency much better, fewer pass attempts. Maybe he didn't need to throw the football as much either, but only 4 guys caught balls last week too, Brad. So as you look at the pass game, obviously there's room for improvement, but how do you take what you saw last week and try to put it into context for this weekend?
Yeah, I thought Norris did a much better job in week 2 of maybe going through progressions. That there was 2 completions I know of. I think both of them might have went to Mazio Bennett, where Bennett was not the first read, and on the touchdown pass to him, it was a really excellent run route by Bennett. One of the better routes I've seen the Gamecock wide receiver run the last couple seasons. They need more of that from him. They need Jared Brown to step up. Josh Simon's a guy who, in the red zone, already has a touchdown catch. He's a guy at tight end, Jay, that I thought would lead the team in receiving yards and catches this season, and he certainly has played well the first 2 weeks. But just getting Lenoris into a rhythm early, and Dow Logan's doing what he can as OC to not have this offense face 3rd and 9s and 3rd and 10s. That's worst case scenario for Lenora Sellers if he's having to play behind the 6 and face those long third downs. But, I was very encouraged with what I saw last week, and any first game jitters, I think, are out the window after he won his first SEC road start.
An interesting angle for this game, too. I mean, I know the chance of rain has kind of shifted slightly here in the last day or so, but still about a 50% chance for there to be a little bit of rain in this game. Do you think that might benefit one team, particularly one way or the other?
I think if let's say we had a downpour at Williams-Brice at 1 p.m. right in the second quarter, I think it would benefit South Carolina. LSU wants to throw the football around, and when it's pouring down or it's wet, passing offenses tend to struggle. And Gamecocks' obvious strength in 2024 is their front seven defensively. And I think you just, ask Kennard and Dylan Stewart, pin those guys' ears back, maybe send some pressure with Bakari Swain like we saw on that corner blitz last week, and you just try to get after Garrett Nussmeier. I think the issue the Gamecocks run into is if LSU can run the ball, which they haven't been able to do really in Brian Kelly's tenure so far, that's where this game can maybe either get out of hand or the Gamecocks can't get an upset. But, stop the run like the Gamecocks have done the last 2 weeks, and then make Garrett Nussmeier in the rain beat you downfield.
Brad, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. Who's somebody that needs to shine here? I'm not trying to ask you a preloaded Nick Harbor question either, I assure you. But who's somebody that maybe hasn't fully emerged yet anywhere on this Gamecock football team that you think, well, they're going to need that person this weekend?
Bam Martin-Scott's a guy for me that I think he was I still feel he's an all-SEC caliber linebacker. He hasn't shown that the first 2 weeks. Debo Williams has kind of made the plays at that position. But if the Gamecocks can get more production out of the outside linebacker spot where Bam's going to be, maybe send him on some blitz Saturday or something like that, then that's going to really, help out those edge rushers. And the Gamecocks have been able to get pressure basically this year with just sending 4. They've only blitzed a few times, credit that D-line. But Bam Martin-Scott's going to have to cover, LSU star tight end, cross the middle a couple times. They're probably going to switch off some coverage with him. And he's a guy inside the red zone that LSU likes to go to. So I would expect a pretty big game from him, and he's obviously an X factor on defense.
Before we get you out of here, I do want, again, you cover this sport coast to coast, border to border, so I want to lean on you for another big conference game, and it's not Georgia's visit to the Commonwealth. It is A&M going down to Gainesville. Look, both these teams are 1-1. They didn't like losing at home. Look, Mike Elko is on no hot seat as of yet. Billy Napier's is already on fire, but Billy's talking, well, we're going to play 2 quarterbacks. And Graham Mertz was not on last night's availability report, meaning he is fully ready to go, Brad. Just what are you seeing in Gainesville right now that should give anybody any hope that Florida's going to find a way out of this mess?
Yeah, if I'm a Gators fan right now, Jay, I'm hoping DJ Lagway plays more than a couple of series at quarterback after throwing for 400+. I know it was Samford last week, but he is a elite difference maker at that position. Maybe he offers more, brings more to the table that maybe Graham Mertz can't. And Florida's a 3-point underdog again at home. A&M has not won an SEC road game. I want to say it's 9 straight ball games, which is just crazy because A&M, pumped so much money into that football program and into these last couple recruiting cycles.
I'll tell you, Brad, it was October 16 of 21 at Missouri. We talked about it yesterday. That's how long it's been since they won a true road game of any capacity, not just conference, any road game.
So that's a winnable game at home for the Gamecocks here in a month or so, for sure.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy to see what's happening at Florida. And real quick, is the love affair with Mark Stoops and Kentucky fans over?
I think it is. I think that the 2 10-win seasons he had during bowl season, getting those postseason victories, that's as good as it's going to get. He's sort of a curmudgeon, never says anything cool, never brings spotlight to the program in a real positive way. And, oh, by the way, the last 2 coaching cycles, he's nearly taken jobs elsewhere within the Power 4. So this is probably it for Mark Stoops in Kentucky as far as this long-term marriage goes.
Yeah, I mean, he had a 25-point home loss last weekend that wasn't supposed to happen. You're probably going to have one this weekend that is supposed to happen. So we'll see what the future holds. Always good to talk with you, sir. Appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend. We'll holler at you soon.
Good to hear from y'all.
You bet, man. That is our good friend Brad Crawford, BCrawford247 to follow on Twitter if you don't already, and you should.
Good stuff.
He knows.
Real good stuff right there.
He knows what's up. All right, we'll talk to Gunner and get into some of your phone calls, assess what Brad had to say when the postgame show returns. Welcome back in. The post-game show rolling along on this Thursday. Thanks again to Brad Crawford for joining us, giving us his expertise. Bill Gunner joined us. We'll get to him in just a second here. Gamecock baseball schedule is out. We'll touch on that in just a little bit. And we've got more news around the business of college athletics to discuss.
Everybody's favorite topic, conference realignment.
The gift that keeps on giving, just like Bill Gunner, who joins us from the Hardys in Blythewood today. Brad said he had predicted a 1-1 conference start for South Carolina, so that should the Gamecocks lose on Saturday, he'd still be right, but wanted you to know that he is sticking with his prediction of a South Carolina victory over Louisiana State.
Ooh. Well, okay, then. How about it? So you've had quite the loaded hour. I've been on twice. Brad Crawford, I don't know how. That's award-winning radio right there.
I'm leaving in like 5 minutes because I can't do any better than that.
Well, you can't. No, but real quick, let's tell everybody what we're doing today before cutting up. I'm out here at 100 Creech Road in Blythewood off of exit 27 at the Hardys, where we are trying to help the Harvest Hope Food Bank. Students want to make sure that the students are eating lunch these days and getting the proper meal and nutrition. As a matter of fact, I've got one chicken tender sitting here right in front of me still, but I want to make sure that we are doing that for the students out there. So you can come out today and whatever you order, just like mine was $5.52, and I rounded on up to $6, and that 48 cents went to the Harvest Hope Food Bank as a donation. The Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. So really cool out here. I'm sitting here kind of enjoying the ambiance, the quietness. It's a little different not having to listen to Jen yell at me every morning, or Terry, or especially when we do our Gamecocks Plus, you making fun of me in my boat. It's kind of nice out here to sit and just quietly hang out.
Never done that. I have never made fun of you in your boat.
He's never made fun of you on air either.
Yeah. I don't know where that comes from, man. That's terrible. Why you want to tell people that kind of thing? That's terrible. So
you can, if you want funny man comedian Jay Phillips, make sure you follow us on Gamecocks Plus, where you can hear boat jokes for 30 while we're breaking down games. But yeah, come on out and join me. Hang out here from 3 to 6 today at the Hardys, 100 Creech Road in Blythewood, off of exit 27, and you can get yourself some food, round up a little bit, and those donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. So let me ask you this real quick. You were going to mention, I just saw that as I was sitting here, about the baseball schedule coming out.
Yep.
And I know you're going to get to that, so I'm going to play the role of spoiler to kind of make fun of you for a second. But it's that last series of the year.
Why you want to spoil it, man? I got a show to do here. Okay, go ahead.
Because I'm selfish, and I only did 3 hours this morning. They wouldn't let me do 6. But so tell me this: have you looked at? Because this is the series that I want to know all about. Have you looked at the full SEC slate? Have you had a chance to do that while you've been doing
I have not. I have not looked at the entire weekend. No.
Well, no, I'm looking to see when Texas and Texas A&M. I'm assuming they're going to put that rivalry back on the schedule, and they're not going to skip it. And I'm wanting to know where they're going. I'm hoping that they are making Texas go to Texas A&M so those Aggie fans can bid a nice farewell to Coach Schlossnagel.
Let me see if I can help you out, Bill Gunner. Live radio here. I will go to baseball. I will go to the link on the baseball schedule being announced. And I will go to the final weekend.
You could just pull up the email.
And, I could have. Nope. Texas will be at Oklahoma that weekend. A&M will be at Georgia.
Well, we got to look and see. I can't believe they would go this year without them playing. But just while you've got me on there, why don't you go ahead and break the news to everybody? South Carolina's last series, May 15th through the 17th, will be where and against whom?
It looks like it's going to be LSU, and it will be here.
Yeah, here in Columbia. So how about that? Paul Maneri getting to host his former team, and that should make for a good end-of-the-season matchup there between those two.
All right. Texas A&M will be at Texas in college baseball April 25, 26, 27.
That is wussing out, if you want my opinion. You should have sent Texas to Texas A&M. There's nothing those Aggie fans would have loved more than have Schlossnagel show back up in his burnt orange so they could fondly greet him when he walks out of the dugout.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm really not even kidding here and say that Chris Del Conte probably called over to Birmingham and said, hey, we are Texas, and we don't want to play in College Station for our first baseball series against them. That's just me supposing that he could have done that.
The answer should have been, that's too damn bad.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it should have been. Real quick, do either of y'all know? I hadn't thought about this until just now. I should know it. Texas A&M in football, that's in College Station this year, though, right?
Is it?
I believe it is.
Hang on. I'm trying to find out. I'm going as quickly as I can.
Boy,
I bet I can find it first.
It is in College Station.
Yep. Okay. So I can see what they did there. They mixed it up a little bit. Well, you guys would struggle on a radio show with me because there's nothing scripted or planned. We just start talking, see where it goes.
Well, I mean, sometimes we do that, but we try to.
That's how I get myself in trouble.
I was going to say today, you and I did actually. We didn't get a chance to have a meeting today.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. As I had to do a little thing in Baton Rouge for another station, and so I just waved at him and said, "Hey, you ready to do a show?" But we kind of knew what we were doing yesterday, so we're good. All right, good. Gunners in Blythewood at Hardee's. Y'all go say hey. We will give you the full Carolina baseball schedule coming up, and again, more on the business of college sports. And we'll join Gunner again from Blythewood at the Hardee's, helping out the Harvest Hope Food Bank for Students, which is a great cause all month long at your local Hardee's. Hour 2 of the postgame show coming at you right after this. 4 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show. Second hour underway from the Herndon Chevy Studios in downtown Columbia, South Carolina. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. You're you, and we appreciate you choosing to be with us this afternoon. Thanks again to Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports for joining us in the last half hour. Our good friend Bill Gunner is also hanging out with us today periodically. He is currently out at the Hardee's in Blythewood. So go say hey, help out a great cause. It's the Hardee's Roundup. You round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All the donations are going to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students across the Midlands. And this is at any Hardee's, not just the one Bill's at right now, but any Hardee's around the greater Columbia area, the metro.
Plenty to choose from.
Yeah. Stop in, say hey, grab a burger, a big cookie, a shake.
They do have some good cookies, too.
Yep, big cookie, man.
Massive.
Big. You know, you might say, how big? Well, you go see for yourself.
Right. There is only one way to find out. We can only do it some
That's right.
much justice here.
Like I told you, man, there's two Hardee's I miss now. Again, one on Forest Drive near where I grew up, and then the one in 5 Points. I kind of miss them both because they were very convenient for, a younger Jay Phillips. But the one
How so?
well, because like the one on Forest Drive when I grew up, man, again, you could ride your bike over there, you get you a chocolate shake and a big cookie.
Ooh, that does sound good, right?
And because you rode your bike, you didn't have to worry about it as a kid. And I was, you burning off all those calories.
Just on the way back home.
Yeah. In addition to other things, apple pie, roast beef. I was a big fan back in the day of the Hardee's roast beef.
Never had it.
It's good. You should get it.
It's making me hungry for a burger.
It's good.
Hardee's burgers. Fantastic.
Good, man.
Up there.
Yep. So, this is not the full schedule, although the Gamecocks, they're going to play Clemson in the non-con portion of the baseball schedule. But today, the Southeastern Conference has released the full slate of games for the upcoming season. Carolina will start conference play March 14th, with welcoming Oklahoma to town. So that's fun. Gamecocks will then travel to Arkansas, then host Tennessee. Then you've got a road trip to Mississippi State, and then a road trip to Texas A&M. Ole Miss will be in town next, then at Kentucky. Final three series hosting Florida, at Auburn, and wrapping up at home with LSU. So no back-to-back home series, but you do start and finish your conference slate with home series. So that's a good one. Looking here,
No Georgia.
You don't get Vanderbilt this year. That's weird.
Yeah, no Georgia either.
No Georgia's weird. I don't want to complain too much about that. I don't want to, but I guess I'm going to anyway. South Carolina and Georgia need to play in everything all the time.
100%.
Now, I understand that one of the reasons, perhaps, amongst several, including conference expansion, I know, look, Georgia doesn't look at South Carolina the same way South Carolina might look at Georgia. At best, in my opinion, at best, Georgia might look at South Carolina as like fourth on the list of rivals. And that's at best, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Florida and Auburn and Georgia Tech are going to be ahead of that. And from an historical conference perspective, Tennessee and Bama a little bit too, border states. But so is South Carolina. But that being said, we now have, we're into like a second generation, if you will, basically, when it comes to Carolina being in the Southeastern Conference. And, I had somebody hit me over the weekend and say, it might be good that Carolina isn't playing Georgia the next couple of years in football. I understand. And Tennessee, they said. And I was like, I understand. You're also missing Florida at a time when you might want to be playing Florida.
This would be, I'd love for them to be playing Florida.
Although last year you should have beaten Florida and you did not.
That was unfortunate.
It was very unfortunate.
Had it in the bag, too.
Oh, well, and again, if there's just one fluky play, but there were other things like, again, tackling on fourth and longs.
Yeah, the deflected pass still. One of the worst act of God plays that happened in South Carolina's season last year. Which there was a handful of act of God plays that did not go your way, but that one sticks out pretty well.
And I know last year Georgia had a heck of a year, man. I get it, but baseball I'm talking about now. But Carolina needs to play Georgia look, if you can't always schedule it in football, okay. I think you can, and I think you should. But, and you do in basketball. That's the permanent home and home, right? That one, and I think Mississippi State, they're still keeping, right, as home and home.
Yep, Mississippi State's the permanent.
It had been Tennessee as a third one, but I'm not sure they're doing that with Tennessee anymore now.
Not this year, no. Their only game against Tennessee next year will be the finale, and that's going to be in Knoxville.
But, it's the closest, for Carolina anyway, and for Georgia, I think. I don't know if Auburn's any closer. I don't know what the distance is between Athens and Auburn. Regardless, you should play them every year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of like what makes college football and college sports so great, right? Is a lot of the geographically created rivalries, right? Your border wars. It's the fact that you're just not playing them in football, and it's the closest one. But you will make road trips to Oklahoma and Alabama is really lame. Right. I'm not saying bring back divisions.
Back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, and back-to-back weeks. I'm not saying bring back divisions by any means. I'm cool with transitioning to a divisionless college athletics universe when it comes to conferences, but a little bit of more geographically minded scheduling would be really nice. Just for all involved too. It's not like you're missing out on money. For all involved, so you can be able to get people to travel to these games and make all of this significantly easier. And you know what? You'd save these schools money too from all the excessive.
Well, yeah,
travel.
like Carolina's baseball road trips at Arkansas, long way.
Long.
At Mississippi State, pretty far.
Yep.
At A&M, long way. At Kentucky, again, pretty far, but not terrible. And then going
comparatively speaking.
Yeah. And then going to Auburn, that's about 5 hours. So, Auburn's your shortest road trip in baseball.
And it's 5 hours.
Yeah.
And you have multiple schools that are 3 or less?
Yeah, because Tennessee's coming here. And again, Georgia, on a bus, you can, that drive to Athens, which I've now made several times with a child at UGA, is actually pretty easy. It's only a 2-lane stretch for about the last 20-something miles or whatever. It's not bad. So anyway, that's just me lamenting that I'd rather see Carolina play Georgia in everything because, they're Georgia.
Geographically based rivalries are the best rivalries. Everything else seems kind of forced.
But anyway, so there you go. So again, in order, I won't give you the dates again, but conference baseball schedule for South Carolina, Oklahoma, at Arkansas, Tennessee, at Mississippi State, at Texas A&M, Ole Miss, at Kentucky, Florida, at Auburn, LSU. Good slate.
It is.
And if you didn't see a couple weeks ago, I'm not even sure I think we put this in the drive around. We were so busy with football, but the SEC and the city of Hoover did announce an extension of the SEC tournament at the. Oh, we did because we talked about the suites. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. But if you didn't hear that, but they will keep it at the Hoover Met, which is going to go. It'll have another renovation soon, and they will be adding some skyboxes and such.
Which would be fun. Never been to the Hoover Met, but would love to cover an SEC tournament there.
It's old, but has been refurbed a little bit. It's fine. It's. I haven't been to the new park in Birmingham where the Barons play downtown.
I've driven by it. It's nice.
I'd probably rather see it go there. But again, I think the Hoover Met is literally free.
Which, kind of outweighs the niceness of any park that's in Birmingham. I think it kind of does.
They're like Hoover's and Hoover's putting up money to fix it up for them. But I don't think they charge them rent or anything, man.
Free.
So I get it.
And everything's a little better once it's free.
I don't know. Sometimes. Depends on what you're getting, man.
I am less removed from my broke college days than you are, so I can still tell you it's fresh on my mind.
If you said to me, "Hey,
freebies,
I'll give you for dinner, a free, like really crappy fast food something," or you can go pay for a night. I'd be like, I think I'll just go pay for it.
I think I'll still take free. We work in radio, Jay Phelps. What are you talking about?
That's true.
We are fueled by free food and enthusiasm.
Yeah, is there any pizza in that box out there? I saw a pizza box.
Okay, those are my leftovers. I had leftovers a couple from a night ago at Old Chicago. So do you like Thai pizza, Jay Phelps?
Yeah, I've had that.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I've had that. That thing's good, man.
With your name on it. And you know what? For you, it's free. I won't charge you a dime.
You don't know that Dave didn't walk out with it, though, did you?
I can't confirm. I did not watch Dave leave. So if that box is empty, then we can reasonably assume that David Ayer got his free radio meal of the day, courtesy of me. I'm paying it forward.
We had a discussion about something that is a work requirement before we came on the air. Dave was still here.
The Stanford tree's worst nightmare.
And I was like, and I'm not, whatever, Dave. And Dave, we get on Dave. Dave prints a lot of stuff on paper.
He loves to print stuff out.
He loves that printer. I think he's the only one that uses it. Maybe he just feels bad for the printer.
I know damn well every tree in South Carolina hates to see him come.
But rather than just like point to the fact that he was showing me on his screen.
It's printed out for you to own a copy
I'm doing an interview with a station in Baton Rouge, and I come out of the studio I was in, and Dave's waiting for me with a piece of paper.
While the email is also still pulled up on the computer.
I was like, well, Dave, at least you printed it instead of pointing to it on your screen. He goes, I had to show you, and I was like, no, I get it.
That's the best bit in this building. Working in a building full of radio people, a lot of really funny organic bits just kind of pop up. That's the funniest one. And it's the funniest one that I hope never dies.
Well, I kind of do because Dave doesn't need to print.
He doesn't need to, but then it wouldn't be so funny around here if he stopped doing it. That's why the bit is so funny.
Anyway. All right, we got. We'll talk to Gunner. We got some sound to get to from the Gamecock coordinators, things we didn't get to on yesterday's program. So plenty more to do as the postgame show continues. Welcome back into the post-game show here on this Thursday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. If you hear a sound through our microphones that sounds like some type of like Scandinavian mountain horn, I don't know if y'all can hear it or not. I just found out from our production guru, Chris Logan, there's a basement. We're on the first floor of our building, and there's a basement underneath us. And this is a 20-story building, so there's a big hot water or a water heater. You can't say a hot water heater. That's redundant.
A little bit. Yeah.
A water heater. And apparently it has some type of alarm that has been going off. And I just found out that's what it was, but it's freaking me and Elijah out.
It's been driving me nuts.
Yeah. And so that's apparent. But apparently that water heater is located in the basement underneath us somewhere close. I don't know. So, again, y'all probably can't hear it through the microphones, but Elijah and I hear it well while we're on the air, and it's happened twice already today, and it happened yesterday.
And we're losing our mind.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I was like, is there like a horn outside? And I was like, well, it's not a car horn, but it did. It sounds like one of those things like if like if there's some Viking blowing a horn kind of a thing.
It almost sounds like Ron Burgundy's got the conch and he's yelling for the news team to assemble.
Right, that or like at a Vikings game when they score a touchdown, like something like that. Like I don't know what it is. Well, now I do, but it's so live radio, but apparently there is a water heater alarm. Now, here's the thing. Why is there a water heater alarm going off?
Maybe the question is, why shouldn't there be a water heater alarm going off?
These are the things that I'd like to know. I mean, is there going to be a geyser that erupts right under you and me here at some point?
Yeah, I didn't know we were sitting above Yellowstone.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on down there, man. So
our sanity's already gone.
So
which was gone before we got onto the show anyway.
But
now
don't exacerbate the problem, right?
Just further down the road.
Bill Gunner exacerbates the problem. No, he does not. I'm just kidding. But Bill Gunner is actually doing great things to help problems. He is out at Hardee's in Blythewood. It's Hunger Action Month. The game and Hardee's teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. And Bill's going to tell you exactly where he is and how you can help. What's up?
Yeah, it's actually the alarm of somebody just coming in and purchasing some food and rounding up to the nearest dollar, where all proceeds and donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. And so you can come by and do the same and continue to freak out Jay and Elijah with the alarm in the basement with a purchase of a meal, chicken tenders or a Famous Star burger or a Superstar burger, which no truth to the rumor they named that after me. But you come by, I'm at 100 Creech Road out here in Blythewood, exit 27, just across the interstate from Cobblestone Golf Club, Cobblestone Park, and come on in and hang out, where I think a gentleman came in, took one look at me, and spun right back around and walked right back out. I was apparently not what he was anticipating being out here. But you can come out.
Wasn't your dad, was it?
No, I would have recognized him. That would have been funny, though. But no, it's a Hunger Action Awareness Month here in September, and we, 107.5 The Game, are teaming up with Hardee's to work with to donate to the Harvest Hope Food Bank, but it's for students. We want all the students out there to be able to eat and have lunch in the schools. And so Harvest Hope Food Bank, so when you come out here and order yourself a big hot ham and cheese or a big cheeseburger, and you round up to the nearest dollar, that might sound like just a little bit, but it goes a long way. And so hopefully people will swing by here. I'll be here till the very last segment with Jay and Elijah. But it's been fun so far hanging out. And in all seriousness, guys, clearly that alarm was the Big Ten. Just like the Grinch coming back down the hill to join the party. That was it's not the Big Ten, the Pac-12.
The Pac-12, yes. The Pac-2, the six-pack. Yeah, we'll get into that in just a second.
More
here.
like the Bac-12, because they're back.
That's right. We'll check in again with you in a little bit. Again, Bill is at, hang on, I got the, where'd you say it was? 100 Creech Road.
Creech, that's right. Out here in exit 27 if you're on 77. So hopefully I'll see some more great people that told me how great I sound in the afternoon right now.
Other than that one guy.
Yeah.
So there's
All right.
that. All right, we'll talk to Bill in just a little bit. All right, good stuff. Thank you, sir. Yeah. If y'all, should we go ahead and get into that since he mentioned it?
We should. I think that's a perfect segue.
All right. If you have not yet heard, this morning, and they did it at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern, the Pacific 12 Conference, which it is still officially known as, which is down to 2 members, Washington State and Oregon State.
Every conference in the country has a misapplied name.
Has announced its expansion to 6 that will begin play in 26-27 school year. The 4 schools added today are San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State. So, again, it's as I told Elijah, it's Pac-12 State. That's the name of the conference.
That's actually the only requirement to get in is they changed the rules to where if you would like to get into this conference, you have to be a state.
Yeah.
But maybe a school that's not a state, if that makes sense.
I also saw apparently, I don't know, like people were saying, what is California State Fresno? And I'm like, that's Fresno State. It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. The question now becomes they need to get to 8. In all seriousness, and again, it's hard to be too serious today all of a sudden. There's too many factors. But anyway,
too many factors, and the Pac-12 can't be taken very seriously.
Well,
anymore,
look,
my seriousness level for this can only be like reined in to a certain degree.
And yet, you and I know, feel the same way, even a generation apart. Like this didn't need to happen to the Pac-12.
It's a travesty what happened.
It did not need to happen, but it did. In order to remain completely, I guess, I don't know if this is the right word, certified as an official conference within the parameters of the NCAA's rules, you have to have 8 schools. They have been given a 2-school year grace period. That's also part of the bylaws of the NCAA. Should your conference have things that happen, because things happen, and you still have a conference structure, you will be given a 2-year grace period to get back to the minimum requirement to be a conference and have all the things that are afforded you, like an automatic bid to every tournament that the NCAA runs, which is a pretty big deal.
Pretty cool.
Amongst other things. So they, again, 26-27 school year is when they have to have this. They will absolutely, probably, and I don't know this yet, but I would think within, I don't know, man, a couple of weeks, certainly I think by the end of the year, they'll have schools 7 and 8. I don't think this is going to it's not going to be very hard for them to find 2 schools willing to do it. And in fact, they'll have people jumping at the chance. The question now becomes who joins these 6 to get to the 8, and do they want to get to 12? You and I were talking about it earlier. If you stay at 8, you're splitting money with fewer people. And right now, well, it's all about the money. It's always about the money, but it's all about the money for real. And so they can get back on good solid ground. They've got a lot of money that's left over, and I say they, Oregon State and Washington State, again, are basically the Pac-12 for the next 2 years.
The controlling members.
And the exit fees that were paid, they are in control of. Now, the schools that we just mentioned are all part of the Mountain West right now, and they do have exit fees of $18 million. Plus, there's a bonus, or not a bonus, there's like another penalty for kind of getting out of the scheduling agreement with the Mountain West in football for next year that's like $40 million. So that's a lot of money. I mean, that comes out to over $100 million.
I'll say it's 118. Was what I saw the figure I saw earlier today.
So, and then that'll have to be paid to the Mountain West. Now, do you get anybody else out of the Mountain West? Maybe.
Should think about it.
You should think about it. But there's been talk as well that they might look into the state of Texas. I even saw this morning that they will at least have a conversation, believe it or not, with South Florida.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that.
Par for the 2024 conference realignment course, buddy.
I mean, and I don't know. For one thing, I would get UNLV almost like as soon as I can, because UNLV does provide you with a known brand. They're not great at basketball anymore. Randall Cunningham ain't going to play football for him anytime soon.
Larry Johnson ain't walking.
Man. I'll tell you that early '90s. Oof, my
Stacey
goodness,
Augmon,
man.
Greg Anthony, loaded.
I love Greg Anthony too. What a point guard. But anyway, UNLV definitely. Here's some other schools in the Mountain West that I think would fit the bill. Really, almost any of them, Elijah. Air Force, that'd be kind of tough for Air Force, I think. But San Jose State, New Mexico, Nevada. If you added UNLV in Nevada, would that be good? I mean, Hawaii, again, travel. I don't know.
But a TV market.
But you've got Boise, you've got Fresno, you got San Diego State coming in, and Colorado State. So that's four good. That's four good ads.
Very.
And Colorado State, it's not in Denver, it's in Fort Collins, but really there's if you look in the state of Colorado where the schools are, like where Boulder is and where Fort Collins is and Colorado Springs where Air Force is, they're all near enough to Denver. They're not like in other parts of the state. And they'll kind of count the Denver market, as Colorado.
They'll count. Yeah.
So that helps because Denver's a big city.
Massive.
Yeah.
What I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, Denver, it's probably not quite as big as Atlanta, but it's pretty close, man. So it's that kind of city. But who else they get? And I've seen, North Texas potentially, you and I were talking about UT San Antonio. That adds you a big city, but I don't know how much San Antonio cares about UTSA. If it gets you on a cable system or helps you with streaming,
Well, then they got to figure out the TV deal too.
Right.
That's kind of the reason we're in this spot right now is the lack of a TV deal that the original Pac-12 members wanted. So now you got to figure out the market's going to be in. But first, you kind of need to know what product it's going to be placed on.
We will get back because I imagine some of you are saying, well, what about? And I know who you might be talking about. I'll come back on the other side. We'll get into more Gamecocks, but I'll tell you two schools that it's not going to be and why when the postgame show returns.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon, and there are a lot of them, so we'll try to squeeze them all here in this short time frame, starting with one on Bluff Road at Highway 48 near Highway 16 and Rosewood Drive. Another one on Faro Road at Highway 555 near Highway 277. One on I-77 northbound over at Exit 1 near I-26. One on Longs Pond Road at I-20, another one on Longtown Road near Lee Road, one on Sparkleberry Lane near Viking Drive, and lastly, an accident is reported at Whaley Street near Wayne Street.
Talking a lot of things, a lot of Gamecock football today. Again, Brad Crawford joining us earlier. We have sound to get to from Gamecock coordinators throughout the afternoon. We will get back into that in just a bit. Bill Gunner's been joining us from the Hardee's in Blythewood, helping out Harvest Hope Food Bank for students with a Roundup program that Hardee's is doing. Very good cause there. And we've been talking about the latest realignment news that hit this morning at 9 o'clock. The Pac-12 announcing that it is being resuscitated. There are now 6 members, although this new conference will not officially begin until the 26-27 school year, so we're still a little ways away from that. But again, Oregon State and Washington State control the Pac-12 at this point. They have invited San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State, and Colorado State. They still need 2 to get back to the minimum 8 to be certified, if you will, by the NCAA. A lot of people have suggested, Elijah, as you know, well, I mean, look, California and Stanford are in California, and they need to be back in their old conference. That ain't happening. And here's why. Listen, we all know here locally about what's going on with Clemson and Florida State and their battles to get out of the Atlantic Coast Conference, even though neither school at this point has a landing spot. There's no way that the Atlantic Coast Conference is going to say to Cal and Stanford, oh, no. It's cool. Y'all just go ahead and leave. And then have Clemson and Florida State go, oh, so we're still stuck, huh? So once you're in, you're in.
It's like the mafia.
Yeah.
Once you're in for good, and the only way out is, well, you don't want to find out.
You don't want that way.
No.
Yeah.
You don't even know what that option looks like.
So it's not going to be Cal and Stanford going back to their old stomping grounds. Now, again, I'd like to see that, but they don't. Again, that's not going to happen.
They signed their soul away already.
Yeah,
it's too late.
It's just
the ink is dried.
Not going to happen. And same thing with SMU, who, remember, SMU might have the only ground to stand on here. And hear me out, because they're not going anywhere either. To say, well, gosh, we're not making anything. Like Cal and Stanford have partial ACC shares for the next couple of years. SMU, remember, is being funded now by their mega donors. They're not getting anything from the ACC for, 5 years, 7 years, something like that?
I want to say 5.
So
a long time to just not get that money from your conference.
But they're going to self-fund, and they can afford it. Good for them. Hey, more power to you. But they could at least say, well, hey, we're not making anything, so can we leave? No. Because the ACC is just not going to let anybody else leave. Now, once Clemson and Florida State's issues are resolved legally, then perhaps we have a different set of circumstances for the other schools. But, again, that might show a path for, as we've said, North Carolina and Virginia and NC State and Virginia Tech to join the SEC or Big Ten in some form or fashion. Miami might be attractive to the Big Ten at some point. Syracuse and Boston College might like to go back to the Big East. We'll see. I don't know. Just throwing things out there. But right now,
I'd like to see a Big East football conference in general.
Right now, nobody's leaving the ACC, so it won't be Cal and Stanford. Again, I'd go get. Seriously, I'd get Vegas. Give me one other. Who else? I'd get Vegas. You get UNLV. That gives you 7. And then do you get Nevada to be a rival for UNLV? Do you get New Mexico? Because at least, that's the other big city in the Mountain Time
It's
Zone.
another state.
That's
Yeah.
what Terry and I were talking about that. You got like Boise, which is not really a big city. I mean, it's probably like Columbia. And you got Denver, which is a big city. And then you got Albuquerque, which is a pretty good city.
Yeah, I mean,
So would you get New Mexico? And that's about all I can think of.
which I mean, at this point, TV market should really be the driving force here. I don't think the Pac-12 is in the business to be collecting brands or brand names, at this point, because you are kind of just at the bottom of the barrel and you're just trying to get enough, teams and athletic departments with pulses to be able to fill out your league. And if you can be able to kill two birds with one stone and get that and be in a decent market, then you take what you can get.
Anyway, the gift that keeps on giving, and that is the the story of realignment, if you will, in college athletics. But again, San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State will join the Pac-12 beginning with the 26-27 school year. And I figure they'll get a few more pretty soon. Let's get back into some sound from Dowell Loggins, Gamecock OC, speaking yesterday to the assembled media. And I tell you what, let's go to number 11 on this one, please, Elijah. Quick hit here from Dowell. How things change or evolve, if you will, when they want Lenoris Sellers to run the football.
No, there was stuff in there. Some of those carries went to Robbie. So there's always going to be elements with his talent, like featuring his talent of having the ability to run him when needed. It was also a completely different scheme that allowed more access into some throws than quick game throws than ODU offered that way. So I think that there were some things just structurally in game plan changed naturally by the structure of the defense.
How much... How many times does he run on purpose this weekend?
Like a designed run.
Yeah. I think there's going to be maybe a little heavier element of that.
Maybe I would say I put the number like an over-under at 7.5 designed runs, which does not count RPO.
Right.
And I feel like RPO can open up your offense to the point where if your offensive line does its job and creates some holes, it's going to give Lenoris the power to be able to find that and either keep or hand it off, and that's usually pretty effective. And he's a pretty solid RPO quarterback, or a lot of read option plays. I think that might be your most effective offense because we've talked about it a few times. If there's any vulnerability on this LSU defense, it's that defensive line. And if you're going to run the ball, sometimes the best way to run the ball against a defensive line that's a little bit wounded is to trick them a lot.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see a whole lot of that. But in terms of just designed runs, I mean, 7.5 would feel like a fair number to put it at.
In order to get the run game going, too, again, as Dowell explained, a lot of the negative plays aren't just about the offensive line. They're about the tight ends, and this isn't exactly all about their ability to block. But, again, personnel usage in terms of that effort aspect of things. But cut number 12, here's Dowell on getting tight ends more involved in the offense.
Players, so it definitely those things definitely help. Balance in the offense is not run pass all the time. Is it your guys touching the ball? Is Mike Smith touching it? Is Josh Simon touching it? Is Jared Brown? Is Rocket Sanders? Is it Robbie Ashford and Lenoris Sellers? So like the ball distribution is important, especially when how many times we throw it last week? Like 20, 23? Like when there's only one football and all of a sudden you're playing. We only play 50 plays total anyway, but when all of a sudden it's now you 50% of the time you're passing, 50% of the time you're running, you have to have that ball distribution, and it keeps everyone locked in and everyone understands their role. You know how it is. Like every tight end receiver wish we threw the ball every snap, and they think they're always open.
No resentment there at all from past receivers that he might have played with, coached with.
And his description of balance fits in with what you've been talking about a lot, and how Coach Mike Leach looked at balance. It's not 50-50 run pass. It's, are you doing everything you can to make the defense account for every player that is eligible to touch the football?
Yeah.
And that's something that I know they probably would like to have distributed the ball to more than 4 players last week. Again, sometimes situational football and circumstances dictate that that's just the way it went. And that's how it was last week. But again, the 4 guys that had it, every one of them caught at least 2 passes, and it was 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers. You probably want to see a little bit more distribution this weekend. But again, I think there's going to be a narrowing of the scope at some point too.
Certainly. Yeah. And because now we're going to figure out the receivers that are trusted the most and the tight ends trusted the most to be able to get the job done or be reliable on like third down. And hopefully you're not in as many 3rd and 12 situations or 3rd and long situations to not have to resort to some of those, but you can like resort to a safety blanket when it is 3rd and a little bit shorter. I think we're starting to at least get that picture now, but you would still like to see it to where one receiver doesn't have, like 24% of the target share, which is kind of like where Jared Brown's at right now.
Right.
I mean, he's got a majority of the targets. You kind of like to see a couple of guys creep into maybe that 10 to 15% range, and you can even it out more so across the board. And LSU's kind of got the similar issue right now, considering they have 2 pass catchers that make up 42% of their team's targets.
I do want to remind you the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest is back. If Carolina scores a special teams touchdown, somebody wins $300 this weekend. We put $100 a game into the pot. And it keeps getting added to it if there's no winner. So, again, $300 up for grabs right now, but you have to register to win. 1075thegame.com. Look for Terry Ford's clicky, spinny thingy that says Lawyer Lisa or something close to that. And away you go. By the way, speaking of away you go, would you like to go see Nathaniel Ratliff tomorrow night in Charlotte? We got 2 pair of tickets we're going to give away right now. Callers 4 and 5. Elijah's going to hook you up. Nathaniel Ratliff in Charlotte tomorrow night at PNC Music Pavilion, 803-404-6100. Good luck. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Thursday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you, 803-404-6100. We do know the guest picker now, if you haven't heard, for College Game Day. It's been one of the big questions of the week, and it will be Coach Dawn Staley, which we figured all along, Elijah, was where this thing was headed.
It's probably the case. The biggest star that lives in Columbia, South Carolina.
I did see on the Twitters that Trick Williams is going to still be in Columbia.
It sounds like he might be on caboose duty.
Is he the guy? And will he be doing maybe the the celebrity starter in the game Cox?
I feel pretty confident in that.
That'd be cool.
That would be really cool.
That'd be cool.
I mean, wrestlers are great hype men.
Yeah.
There's probably no better person to get out there and
really, that's kind of job one. Yeah.
rile the crowd up. Yeah, that's the whole shtick, right?
When you're the star, anyway.
You're entertainer and stuntman basically at the same time. You're a combination of the two. So maybe he can go out there and, like, a Bill's Mafia style, break a table off the top of the caboose, which would be sick. Would be absolutely sick. That place would explode.
It would go nuts.
We would
That'd be
feel,
fun.
that would show up on the Richter scale. That's how loud it would get before this game.
Terry's hanging out down here, too, so I know he's not going to pull the mic up, but he can remember this. Elijah, you might not, you and Tyler as wrestling fans, because now everything is like on a big scale when they have the televised events for wrestling. But for those of you who are around my age or Terry's age, you will remember the old Saturday wrestling show that was done basically like the same place where they do the local news. And there were like 20 people there watching, right? And you have one of the stars. So like Flair would be there, or Dusty Rhodes. I'm going way back in the day, right? And Terry, you remember this. And then you'd be like the dude they would fight. Be like, they'd like announce, here comes Ric Flair with his walk-up music, and his big robes and everything. And then the next guy would be like, and here's, John Ford. Something like that, right? Here's Tim Smith. So not that. My point being, that guy was not going to be a hype guy.
No.
And he was just some dude.
That some dude is just a punching bag.
Yeah.
They're collecting a check.
Do they still have that in wrestling? Do they still have a guy that has zero chance? I mean, do they still have the Washington Generals of pro wrestling, that like some guy that just has no chance to?
The paid punching bags?
Yeah. I mean, do they do as much of that anymore? I feel like everything now has some type of...
Surely, right?
I don't know. But again, if you're of a certain age, you remember the old Saturday morning wrestling. And like I say, it was basically done in a TV studio in Charlotte or Atlanta somewhere in front of about 20 people. Good stuff. Good stuff. We'll talk to Bill Gunner again in a bit. Remind you that Bill is out in Blythewood. He is currently at 100 Creech Road in Blythewood, right off I-77. It's Hunger Action Month, and the Game and Hardee's teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's all around the Midlands, round up your bill to the nearest dollar, and every single donation goes straight to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. And as I say that, Bill Gunner is with us from Blythewood. Have you had anybody else come in and be disappointed in you?
No. Guy actually came back, said he had to run home real quick, but he came back, recognized me, and made me feel good about myself. See, being out in the public, Jay Phillips, makes me feel good about myself.
Well, because initially you didn't. So, I mean, did he just like not have any money, or?
I don't ask the question. Did they come back and he made a donation to the Harvest Hope Food Bank, bought himself some food, and looked like he had a good time. We talked for a minute. Said he's questionable on your show, but really enjoyed the morning show. Really enjoyed the morning show.
The morning show is a fine show on Apple TV.
Yes. We stream. I understand you were struggling with the streaming earlier, so yeah, we stream and do everything. But yeah, we'll be out here. I'll be out here just a little bit longer, 100 Creech Road in Blythewood, exit 27, and hang out just a little bit longer. It'll be time to head home and watch some Thursday night football, Jay Phillips. Thursday night, Dolphins and Bills, two teams that are well above your Broncos.
Yeah, and they're going to be. I got the Dolphins winning this one tonight at home.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. The Bills they've won 13 out of the last 15 in this series, so it's time for the Dolphins to flip. I actually was scrolling through Twitter, waiting on you to call and see where Herb Street is there, ready to be on the call tonight. So, and then he'll make his way to Columbia. And
is Al Michaels still doing Thursday night football as well?
I believe so. I actually didn't think to look. To be honest, I did totally forgot that Herb Street was doing Thursday night football.
Yeah.
If you want to be honest, because he was videoing his dog wandering down the aisle, the hallway of wherever they're at. It wasn't there in Miami, but whatever building they were in. I was like, that doesn't look like Columbia. Not familiar with any of that, so it made all the sense in the world. But you got that, and even a little bit of college football tonight. I think it's Texas State and Arizona State, if I'm thinking correctly.
I believe that's right.
That is correct. Yeah, at Texas State. Texas State, a fun watch.
And then tomorrow night we have a ranked matchup tomorrow night, right? Arizona State and K-State?
Arizona.
Or Arizona, and K-State, yeah.
Actually, a good thread on one of the message boards I saw about what happened to all the good Thursday night college. I know the NFL's come in and taken it over.
It's easy. The NFL. That's what happened to it.
Yeah, that's what I just mean. It's a shame.
It's that simple. Yeah. Headlines of the day coming up. More from Carolina coordinators ahead of LSU, and Bill again from Blythewood. Final hour of the postgame show right after this.
From the WIS traffic studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways, 2 in Lexington and 2 in Richland County. We start off with the ones in Richland County, one on Sparkleberry Lane near Viking Drive, one on Whaley Street near Wayne Street. And in Lexington County, we have accidents on Longs Pond Road at I-20 and on Highway 6 at Bush River Road.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Thursday. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour of the postgame show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Busy today. A lot of stuff going on. Thanks again to Brad Crawford for joining us earlier, talking a little Carolina football. Bill Gunner's been hanging out with us. He is at the Blythewood Hardee's, helping out Harvest Hope Food Bank. Very good stuff. We'll talk to him again in just a bit. And we're talking a lot of Gamecocks and LSU, including more sound from the coordinators, which is where we will start. Dowell Loggins and Clayton White getting us ready from their perspectives ahead of the matchup with the Tigers. We'll hear from Dowell first. He spoke about what he is most concerned with when it comes to the LSU defense.
Yeah, their defense coordinator comes over from Missouri, and he's had a lot of success against South Carolina the last 3 or 4 years, and I faced him twice at Arkansas. He does a really good job, creates a culture of playing hard that shows up on tape. As soon as you hit play, you see a team that buys into what he's doing, and on top of it's LSU, and they've got elite recruiting for years, and on top of a head coach that's obviously knows how to win games. So we're fortunate we get to play here at home, and it'll be a lot of our players' second SEC start, so you start adding experience, and hopefully we continue to get better each week. And their style of play on top of their scheme, on top of their talents, what creates issues.
Yeah, I think. Look, I say it all the time about LSU: talent. There was never a dearth of talent at LSU. If anything, it's their ability to put it together. Now, last year. You talked about Perkins a few times as well, just seemingly being played out of position. Brad mentioned that with us earlier.
Mm-hmm. Puzzling.
He feels the same way. It may well be that they just feel he can be most beneficial by being in that particular spot. Whatever. That's for somebody else to judge based on results. But that's the thing that really gets it. Because I think we know the Kentucky defensive front last week was very talented, and Carolina held their own well enough, but still 12 negative plays, plus a couple of fumbles that went your way. LSU sees that and will look to exploit that. And I think that's the biggest challenge for the Gamecocks up front on offense is your opponent already knows what you can't do very well. And that's not always a great indicator of where things are going to start.
Not at all. I mean, it's the thing with LSU's defense too. The more I've thought about it this week, is that we do have such a small sample size, and we're really functioning off of one game you got up for against a pretty good Southern Cal offense, and then another one against Nicholls State, who I thought you made a really good point earlier today. How up for that were they for the first half? And that's. So really, when you ask a lot of these questions, like when I asked Shane Beamer on Tuesday, that was Tuesday, right? Yeah, Tuesday, about preparing for this defense, like what do you see on tape that's different? He said, well, the effort's really good, but I didn't watch a ton of their tape from last year, with the exception of personnel, because they have a lot of the very same personnel. So it can be a little tricky, but the effort for them is still there. And that's one thing. If you're LSU, you can still correct a lot of things defensively. If you at least can apply some effort, then the schematic gap, might be able to take care of itself if Blake Baker's the guy for the job.
Defensive coordinator Clayton White speaking as well. Here he is on the challenge of going up against an LSU passing offense that has already seen Garrett Nussmeier throw for more than 600 yards, 8 touchdowns to just 1 pick.
Yes, I mean, obviously, 44 yards passing is obviously a hard mark to try to repeat. LSU does an outstanding job. Coach Kelly, Nussmeier, and all those wideouts that they have really good tight ends. I think they, obviously present a challenge for everybody they play. The game plan definitely is changing every single week. You have to always adjust to who you're playing and when you're playing, and you definitely want to keep the focus on yourself and your technique and how you play your coverages, be cleaner. There's a lot of things that we could have done better in the previous game and the previous 2 games. We feel like we're just now getting started, but we want to continue with those small details and keep practicing hard and bringing that great energy to practice.
Yeah, great energy is certainly imperative. And don't forget, by the way, Shane Beamer will be with Carolina Calls tonight with Todd at Backstreets, just about a little over a mile away from us here, right up the hill from 5 Points. So he'll have more, but he won't be letting on to what I'm getting ready to ask you. And I think we hit on this a couple of days ago, and that's what Carolina might be able to do to disguise their looks, to try, because this LSU offensive front, might be the best in the conference. Certainly the two tackles.
Yeah.
And so can you, as we talked about initially, LSU will just want to go one-on-one with you until you can prove otherwise. There's no reason for them to say, well, let's put two guys on Stewart. Let's put two guys on Kennard or whatever. They're not going to do that. Now, if you're beating them, then they'll make an adjustment. But that, to me, in terms of some of the things, the details that Clayton talks about there, again, we're not going to know what that looks like until we play a game on Saturday. But are there little wrinkles that he can throw at LSU to do everything you can to keep them off balance? Because, again, they've not allowed a sack yet this year.
Or to trick them. I mean, You're not going to just bull rush Will Campbell or Emory Jones. You're not. That's not how it's going to get done. It is funny to go back and watch the tape of Dylan Stewart completely embarrass Old Dominion and just run over them with what looks like no resistance just because he is that dominant. You're not going to be able to do that against Jones and Campbell. But what you might be able to do later on in the game is trick them a little bit. If you can confuse them a little bit, make them a little hesitant, do some stunts, do some things that could be able to disguise what you're doing, or maybe do some corner blitzes and make them have to just account for more players that you're bringing to the passer. The reason that can be so important, too, is if you do make them have to bring extra help, then that can take someone like Mason Taylor, who's a really good pass-catching tight end, out of the passing game, and you can almost make him an extra tackle and basically eliminate him from that, because him and Kyron Lacey combined account for 42% of their targets. Garrett Nussmeier loves throwing those two dudes the ball.
Right.
He trusts them a lot. A lot of the other receivers are either hurt or they're transfers, and there's still some chemistry they need to build between the quarterback and pass catcher. So that really what we're kind of honing in on too. It's a microcosm of the big matchup we've talked about all day between LSU offensive line and South Carolina defensive line. That is why that's so important, and that's kind of the little things that I highly advise that everybody watch for as the game progresses. Exactly what Clayton White does a quarter or two into the game if you're not getting that pass rush like you were last week.
Staying with our integrated media headlines of the day, and it does have to do with Carolina LSU, but not on the field directly. But if you have not yet heard, South Carolina women's basketball coach, three-time national champion Dawn Staley will indeed be the celebrity picker. They try to have somebody, with local ties, and obviously Dawn has, I think Elijah and I both use the term routinely when it comes to Dawn. She's a rock star.
Yes,
and
that's an understatement almost.
Yeah,
I think that almost undersells
it. She's grown to hit another level.
Icon.
Yeah. She is, man. She is, and she represents the university quite well, really on the national and international level. Again, living her best life in Paris during the Olympics back in July and August, and that was it was fun to see how much fun she was having, and obviously. From what I understand, Asia Wilson has a game in Indiana tomorrow night against Aaliyah and the Fever and Caitlin Clark. Maybe you can get her down here to wave and say, hey, when they honor the team. I don't know how that works.
I believe they also have I think the Aces also have a game on Sunday.
Yeah, probably not. They probably got to fly right back.
If I'm Becky Hammond and you ask if I could do that, I'd say, how about no?
That's probably true.
Yeah.
But it will be Dawn. She's going to do a hit with them in the 10 o'clock hour out at Gamecock Park, and then she will be with them at the set inside the stadium to make the picks in the 11 o'clock hour. And the Gamecock women's basketball team is being honored at the game. We all have also, at least I saw it on Twitter from his Twitter feed, that Trick Williams will be in Columbia. And what that looks like, I don't know. Because there's a lot of speculation that it could be him. But at this point, he just says on his Twitter feed he'll be there, and he gave a spur. And, he loves owning the fact that he played football at Carolina. So there's that.
Cockaboo City.
Could be.
Maybe. And
then,
one thing to look for with Dawn on game day, too. Does she bring Champ to the set? Kirk Herbstreit has opened up the floodgates here that College Game Day is a dog-friendly set.
Yeah.
Ben Herbstreit's going to be there. Does Champ Staley make an appearance as well?
I hope so.
I hope so. That's what I'm cheering for.
Yeah, I hope so.
Actively cheering for.
Yeah.
You don't get to cheer a lot in this business. I'm actively cheering for
I mean, sometimes dogs don't,
there.
but, Ben's a golden retriever. Retrievers and labs, usually pretty chill with other dogs. Sometimes, I don't know.
Ben seems very chill.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Ben specifically.
Again, to the people, like, enough with your dog, like, you just must hate dogs.
Or you must hate, like, the good things in life.
Yeah.
You must hate
honestly,
happiness.
Man, listen,
you must hate other people enjoying their day.
Yeah. If you don't have a dog, like, that's cool. But if you're, like, a dog hater, then, man, I might have issues.
Then my judge of character radar is going off the charts.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
I mean, I got 2 dogs, and we're keeping a friend's dog right now. So we got 3 dogs running around my house right now. It's great.
That sounds awesome.
It's great.
That sounds amazing.
It's great, and they all get along.
Honestly, I'm envious of that.
Yeah, it's very fun.
I'm just gonna go over to your house and play with your dogs.
Well, if you listen, I'll let you. If you want to keep her for a little bit, I'll hook you up. Don't worry.
Yeah, there we go.
I got the hookup. The Gamecocks hosting Georgetown tonight in women's soccer. That one kicks off at 7:00 at the Graveyard, so make sure you get out for that one. Tickets still available. Gamecocks Online, or you can get them when you get over there. Should be a big crowd, though. Mm-hmm. There's always a big crowd.
Graveyard's had some great crowds.
Yeah, they had over 6,000 last time, so they will likely do that again. Gamecock baseball news for you here in September. The brand new conference schedule is out. It looks like this. I'm just going to run down the order now. Starting on March 14th, series with Oklahoma here. Then the next weekend at Arkansas, home with Tennessee, at Mississippi State, at Texas A&M, home with Ole Miss, at Kentucky, home with Florida, at Auburn, home with LSU. So you do have a back-to-back road swing in early to mid-April, but you start and finish with home series, which is good. And again, mighty Tennessee coming into Columbia the final weekend of March.
Founders needs to be rocking for that.
That'll be big, man.
Be massive.
How'd Tennessee do last year?
I'm trying to think if they could have done better. No, that won the SEC. Yeah, won the SEC tournament. Yeah, national championship. No, I don't think there's anything they failed to do last year.
Yeah, Tony's hit a new level, man. He's reset the standard.
They were pretty good. No
Vandy, no Georgia in SEC baseball for the Gamecocks next season. Though you don't like either one of those, but that's the life with it, especially the Georgia part. Again, you need to be I said it earlier. You need to be playing Georgia and everything. I
want to call the manager.
It's just,
I want to talk to a manager. Right.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's just that simple. Braves fell to the Nationals last night, 5-1. They also fell a game behind the Mets in the wild card chase. Braves are off today. The good news is that they have the Dodgers next.
Oh, the Dodgers aren't very good, right? Oh, no.
But it's in Atlanta.
Home field advantage.
It counts for
something.
Maybe.
Well, at least Ronaldo Lopez has played really well this year, and he's going to be
No.
Shoot. I got nothing for you.
No.
I've been trying to be your optimistic fan outlet for this entire stretch and living vicariously through you because the Cincinnati Reds season is over for all intents and purposes. But I'm running out here. I'm trying. We're trying, Jay.
Doing my best.
We're trying.
Should I reset my fan bar to be excited if the Braves make the playoffs, or do I keep it where it is for the disappointment should they not?
Now, be more excited if they make the playoffs.
Because it's hard for me to reset that bar, man.
Because A, life is too short to not celebrate all of your victories, big or small. That's just a life philosophy of mine. And B, you can have the proper context that everybody got hurt that could possibly get hurt on this team. And it took a Herculean effort from Chris Sale to get you into the playoffs. There's something to be appreciated about that. That is an admirable effort to even just get into the playoffs.
That's fair.
Many teams in Major League Baseball, Jay Phillips, stayed healthy all year and still couldn't even get close to the playoffs.
That's also true.
I'm
trying, man. It's not easy. You gotta go to Washington and you gotta win those games.
Have to.
I mean, you score 12 one night and then 1 the next.
Well, if Chris Daughtry taught you anything, Jay Phillips, is that it's not over.
More sound from the Gamecock coordinators ahead of LSU when the postgame show returns. Let me tell you about our good friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. Whatever it is when it comes to banking needs, do it better. Do it where you keep more of your money. What do I mean by that? Well, listen, big banks, they have their purpose, right? But they're typically for-profit institutions that need to return earnings to shareholders. Well, when you bank with Palmetto Citizens, the money stays local because they don't have to pay shareholders. All of their money is returned to members in the form of lower rates and fewer fees. When they loan money, it is to local businesses and local residents. That's how it is, right? So whether it's checking, savings, new credit card, car loan, mortgage, equity line, student loans, whatever you might need. And now's a great time, by the way, for car loans. They can finance over 100% of the retail or purchase price on new to 21 models and really give you some savings that dealerships cannot. Learn about all of what they do and join my wife and me as members at palmettocitizens.org.
Yeah, between Campbell and Jones, those guys are Campbell 66, Jones is 50. I mean, they're definitely talented, long rangy guys who play with a lot of energy. Like you watch them, they're helping their quarterback up when he gets knocked down. They're going for loose balls that are on the ground. I mean, I think they play. Their intangibles are just more important than their talent. But game plan wise, you have to understand who you're going against, and it really doesn't really change. I can't, really make a huge change on our game plan, but we're definitely aware of who they are and their skill set.
That is Gamecock defensive coordinator Clayton White talking about what South Carolina goes up against up front against LSU, as Will Campbell maybe the best left tackle in the country. They're just, that to me, we keep coming around to it. That's the battle. And I've asked today, your opinion. We'll talk to Bill about it in a second. Bill Gunner's gonna join us. And those of you on the text line as well, is that the biggest matchup? The Gamecock D-line versus the LSU O-line. And then sort of a secondary point here is if that were graded out as a push. In other words, if whatever numbers kind of came back and, hey, they both did a good job. Maybe LSU does finally allow a sack, but maybe South Carolina doesn't get 5, or just whatever. But if it comes out to some sort of push, is that advantage LSU, or is it truly just it negated itself? And again, I don't have an answer. And there could be different factors that go into something like that.
And, here's the thing, too. It's because the protective nature of the offensive line. It's one of those things that sometimes offensive line can be like referees. If you don't notice them a ton, it's because the quarterback's got clean pockets and he's able to drop back and pass and dissect a defense. And, sometimes the most notice you put on an offensive line is when they're giving up sacks or you're not able to run the ball. So if it goes as like a push and South Carolina is maybe only able to get 1 sack or maybe like 2 or 3 quarterback pressures, but they don't necessarily impact a drive, then it's advantage LSU. The one way it can be advantage South Carolina is if say they only get 1 hit on Nussmeier, but that hit on Nussmeier was at their LSU 5-yard line. The ball pops out and you scoop and score. You get the ball at the 3 or 4-yard line. That could be just 1 sack or 1 play on Nussmeier that was made, but that one's not built as equally as maybe one if it's on, the South Carolina 20.
Yeah. That's a good point. Bill Gunner joining us as he has been all afternoon long. He is at 100 Creech Road in Blythewood. That's the Hardee's location out that way for a terrific cause. We'll let him tell you what he is doing, but I also want his take on some of what's going on with the LSU game. But how are things now after 5 o'clock in Blythewood at Hardee's? How much chicken have you eaten?
Enough that I've had enough for dinner. I'm good. It'll be an early dinner and then probably an early breakfast on the way to the studio at 5:30 in the morning while you and Elijah are still dreaming of all kinds of footballs flying through the air and defensive ends sacking quarterbacks and all kinds of neat stuff. But it's been a lot of fun out here where, again, you can, even after I leave here in a few minutes or in just about 30 minutes, that you can still come by, round up your meal. So just like earlier, I got some chicken tenders, about $5.52, rounded up to $6, and that was a 48-cent donation. Every penny helps to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. We certainly don't want the students going hungry, so it's a great foundation, great way to contribute back to the community. And again, you can go to any of the participating Hardee's. I've been at the Creech Road location. Again, a lot of nice people have stopped in and said hello. They have commented on that you're a lot smaller than you sound on the radio, which I thought was a very polite thing to say. But it's been a lot of fun. And again, thank you to Harvest Hope Food Bank for students for partnering with us, with Hardee's, for this little this great little deal that we've got going on. And again, it's been a lot of fun out here.
That's good. Earlier we also mentioned, or we asked Bill if he knew any Glenn Campbell songs.
Very disappointed.
I only know 2. And then Bill asked if he had been in the Eagles. That was Glenn Fry.
That was close.
That's close.
Yeah. Hey,
Glenn.
What can you say?
His name's Glenn.
We celebrated the life this morning of Frankie Beverly, so it's been a big music day for me.
All right. There you go. Let me ask you, we'll come back around to football, and we will talk to you again here for, a very good cause. But what has your co-host and former Gamecock D lineman Preston Thorne said about what that line is going to go up against, Saturday in terms of the Gamecock D line against LSU?
Well, we've listened to what Shane Beamer's had to say, a little bit of what Clayton White's had to say. I mean, look, they're a good line. I think what Preston and I agree on is, in terms of the LSU offensive line, it is a lot of individually talented players. And speaking of a week where fact-checking appears to be a very important thing, let's fact-check everything. Elijah, you're going to probably be more equipped to fact-check me on this because I'm getting this from my 12-year-old son. I believe Will Campbell is one of the top 5 rated players in the EA Sports college football game. I believe. Don't fact check me on that one and let me know. But I believe I've been told that, and then obviously that means that he's one of the 5 best players in all of college football, maybe in the world. I don't know. But the bottom line is that they are a talented offensive line, but as a group, they have not seemed to perform the way you would expect them to, especially in the run blocking aspect of the first 2 games. And so, this should be the best defensive line they've gone against. Southern Cal still rebuilding their defensive line. Nichols obviously was not much of a match. So you've got a group, and I was actually rewatching the Kentucky-South Carolina game one final time before I came out here, and I think lost in the defensive line is the play of DeAndre Jules and what he's done. We talk a lot about Kennard and Stewart, but Jules on the interior has been extremely good and has helped that rotation with depth to keep those guys fresh. We talked a little bit about the snap count that South Carolina had this past weekend in Kentucky. Very even. I think Tonka Hemingway led the way. T.J. Sanders was there. Boogie Huntley. DeAndre Jules again had snaps. Monkel Goodwin got in there for 15 snaps. So Travian Robertson on the big boys, the interior guys, doing a good job of mixing up the snaps, and they're really doing a good job at the edge to keep those guys fresh throughout the game.
Your son has nailed it. Will Campbell is rated as the number 2 overall player in EA Sports college football, behind only Will Johnson of Michigan.
Yes. When I need a confirmation, when I need EA Sports college football 25 information, I have a very good source at the house. I would like him to go outside and not be a vampire quite as much, but yes, he is very good. So, so that just tells you Will Campbell expected to be a top 10 draft pick in the upcoming draft. And again, it's going to be a really good contest. We joked about another thing Preston mentioned this morning that I thought was interesting is, Dylan Stewart is not really experienced adversity in his football life. Dylan Stewart will go into this game much like he will go into most games thinking, well, I was a 5-star recruit. I dominated the high school level. I've dominated the first 2 games of the college level. Why will I not dominate this guy? So it'll be interesting to see how, if they get locked up in one-on-one matchups, how this goes for Dylan Stewart. You just can't expect him to win every snap. You hope he wins his fair share. But I think that's going to be interesting for him, whereas you got a guy like Kyle Kennard who's been playing college football for 6, 10, 12 years so far and is familiar with going against really good offensive tackles.
It's going to be it's a big matchup. No question about that. All right, we'll check in with Mr. Gunner again shortly out in Blythewood before he needs to get out of there and go back and play his own video games.
Very good point. Very good. I look forward to speaking with you.
Or just go to bed because you do.
And I tell you what, when you come back, I'm going to differ from you two on the defensive line versus the LSU offensive line being the biggest matchup of the game.
Okay.
That's a tease.
Right. Yeah. I'm here for that. Drive around the SEC is next.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a plethora of accidents to get to you this afternoon that are causing some issues on the roadways. Starting off with one on Bluff Road at Highway 48 near Lower Richland Boulevard, one on Cedar Crest Drive at US 1 at Augusta Road, Faro Road at Highway 555 at Parkland Road, one on Gervais Street near Trenham Road here near downtown. Highway 6 at Bush River Road has an accident causing some issues, as well as one on Piney Grove Road at I-26, one on South Beltline Boulevard at Rosewood Drive near Highway 16, one on Shop Road near Atlas Road, and lastly, one on Sparkleberry Lane at Viking Drive.
It is Drive Around the SEC time here on a Thursday afternoon. Welcome back in alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. Bill Gunner will be joining us in just a little while. He is out at the Hardee's in Blythewood as we promote a really good cause. It is the Harvest Hope Food Bank for Students Hunger Drive. So we're helping you out with the Roundup campaign. Good stuff. We'll start with our news here. If you haven't heard yet, Dawn Staley will be the celebrity guest picker for Saturday's college game day. A lot of folks wondering about that. So if you've just gotten in the car, hadn't heard us talk about that yet today, that was announced right around the time we came on the air, give or take.
Oh, a little bit. I mean, we're maybe a segment or two in.
But she'll be doing that. She'll actually do a couple of segments. She'll be at the main stage in the 10 o'clock hour out in Gamecock Park. And then, the last hour, now they'll move into the stadium, and she will be with them to make the picks there in the 11 o'clock hour. So a couple chances to see Coach Dawn. And again, WWE wrestling superstar Trick Williams, a former Gamecock football player, says he will be in Columbia for the game. So there you go. That's a former Gamecock.
Do with that as you wish.
Yeah. Matrick Belton, now Trick Williams, and a rising star in the WWE. So Elijah is hoping that he comes out of the caboose and maybe does some kind of flip.
Bill's Mafia style off the caboose, breaks a table.
Yeah. Maybe goes after the LSU mascot.
Or have a fake LSU mascot out there.
There you
and
go.
Then he could body slam him.
Nice. That'd be cool. But there you go. So there's a little bit of local news. And again, I won't go over the entire conference slate because that would take us the better part of an hour. But since it is SEC news, the Gamecock baseball schedule for next year, at least the conference slate. They're going to play Clemson. We don't have the full non-con as of yet. That'll be coming soon, Kent Reichert tells us. But they'll start March 14th against Oklahoma here in Columbia. And then I'll just go through the 10 series in terms of venue. So, again, home with Oklahoma, at Arkansas, home with Tennessee, at Mississippi State, at Texas A&M, home with Ole Miss, at Kentucky, home with Florida, at Auburn, home with LSU to conclude the regular season. That's how the 10 SE series shape up in terms of where they are, and they'll be in that order. And obviously the Hoover Met continuing to host the Southeastern Conference baseball tournament. So, Coach Maneri, it could be a lot on the line by the end of the regular season.
With a school, I
bet it was full coincidence that was scheduled the way it was.
Yeah, seemingly. I mean, Paul might know something about LSU. I don't know. I don't know if he's very familiar with them. If we have to give him a crash course, I'm sure we could definitely give that to him. I'm sure he might.
But Gunner was bummed out. We talked to him earlier about this. Gunner was bummed out that Texas and Texas A&M are not going to conclude the regular season against one. They do play. They play the last weekend of April in Austin.
It'd be cooler if it was.
And yeah, Gunner
Station.
was lamenting the fact that it was not in College Station because he wanted to see Coach Slosh get a nice welcome home. A&M folk ain't real happy with Jim.
I wonder why.
Listen, he got him to the World Series, right?
To the World Series final.
And he
Within a game.
Yeah, and he got him there. He got him there twice in his 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a good series, man. It's a good series. It's a great series, actually. And he always wanted the Texas job. He made no secret of that. He always wanted the Texas job. And last time around, for whatever reason, the previous administration, the lost odds in them didn't call Jim. And you know what? I don't know why. I mean, he only how many times did he take TCU to the World Series? Like 4?
Enough.
5, something like that. I don't know. Yeah, enough. And in his very first season at A&M, got him to the World Series. Anyway, so there you go. But Oklahoma at Arkansas, Tennessee at State, at A&M, Ole Miss, at Kentucky, Florida, at Auburn, LSU. The 10 conference series for Gamecock baseball. And you could probably go ahead and start buying tickets. I don't know if you can or not, actually. But at least go put something in on Gamecocks Online. Football-wise, Elijah, I'm going to give you he's calling Bill right now, but I'm going to give you 2 guesses for 2 answers.
Ooh.
Arkansas.
Guess stuff.
Arkansas has signed field sponsorship deals. All right? There are 2 entities that Arkansas has signed with. Who are they?
This is easy because I've seen it. But it is Walmart and Tyson.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Right?
I win.
Yes, nice.
But
job.
also the most Arkansas.
I was going to say, I mean, who else is it going to be, right?
Yeah.
So they become, I think, the 4th school now that has a field sponsorship.
Good for them.
I'm surprised more teams, schools, whatever, have not done this. I don't know what the holdup is. And I'm not being, I'm not here to be like overly critical, but like Saturday at Williams-Brice, that's a national TV game, man.
Someone would fork over a lot of money to have their logo on that field.
I was at Williams-Brice yesterday, and I was watching them get the field prepped, and they've got where they got the 2 SEC logos, and they got the 2 Palmetto Tree logos on the others, and I was like, man, a sponsorship sure would look good right there. And I know they're working on it, but man, you got yourself a high-profile one this weekend.
That wad of cash is what that would provide.
Graham Mertz was not listed on last night's availability report for Florida. That's good news in terms of the fact that he is fully available. Now, our buddy Brad Crawford was with us a little bit earlier. And Brad, I guess, went against the grain that you and I feel. And he was actually very high on DJ Lagway playing this weekend for Florida, potentially with Graham Mertz. Now, Billy Napier says both will play. You and I, again, we did the kind of like my stomach hurts face.
The skepticism
when we first heard that comment from him a couple of days ago. I was like, oh, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. If they're both healthy, your starter didn't get benched because he was playing poorly. He got benched because he had a concussion. You can't hold that against him, in my opinion. And Lagway threw for a bunch of yards against a team that he should throw for a bunch of yards against. So, again, with all the problems, I just think he's creating another problem. I'm not here to disagree with Brad, and I imagine Mertz starts at least. But when do you decide to just put DJ in? I mean, you better do it quick.
You know what it kind of seems like? It seems like this is starting Graham Mertz would be doing him a favor, or at least doing him a solid because he is the incumbent starting quarterback. But I think that leash is going to be very short. Heaven forbid you go into the second half down 10, 17, 14 points or whatever, and then you have to turn it on over. But maybe the first interception of the game, if it happens before a certain point in the second quarter, then
I like how you say that though. The first it's like it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. So maybe that's the point when you finally turn the keys over to the freshman. So I think the leash is going to be really, really short on Graham Mertz.
Bless his heart.
As we'd say.
As we say in the South. Bless his heart. We say that about Bill Gunner a lot. He joins us here. We got a couple of minutes left in the drive around the SEC. What do you think about that? Should Billy play both quarterbacks?
No. You should play Lagway.
Go
down. You gotta have something where that fan base at least looks at you and says, "Oh, okay, I see what you're trying to do." It didn't work with Jaden Rashada. They tried. They gave all that money, NIL money, and he went back and forth between Miami and Florida and ended up at Arizona State. Now he's at Georgia. If Billy's going to make it out of this season alive, it's because somebody looks at something he's doing and says, "Oh, okay, I see what's happening here," and it's not going to be with Graham Mertz. I look. If you go 5-7 with Graham Mertz and you go 5-7 with DJ Lagway, you got one more here because of your buyout. If you show a freshman that can give you potential down the road,
I guess I don't know. I just think at this point Billy's creating more headaches for himself. But before we get out of here, one more reminder, sir, of the great work that you and the folks at Hardee's are doing for the kids.
Fun here in just a second. 100 Creech Road. That's where I've been. Don't go by there looking for me now. Most people that saw me were disappointed. That's okay. Save yourself. But still go to Hardee's and get yourself some dinner tonight. Get the family a dinner. Round the first dollar. The money will go to, the proceeds will go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for the students, which will be really cool. They'll be excited about that. We've been, as you said, happy to partner with the Harvest Hope Food Bank for Students, to partner with Hardee's, and really, as you said, support a great cause today for the students that are out there, so we can make sure that everyone's getting a good lunch there at the elementary, middle school, or high school level.
Good stuff. It was fun hanging out with you today. And, again, shameless plug for Bill and me. Make sure you check out our newest episode of the Cocktail Hour on Gamecocks Plus. That'll come out tomorrow night. We're looking forward. We're having a lot of fun with that. And that's the only time I get to see Bill. And so this was fun today to have us rag on each other again for a few minutes more. Safe travels home, and back here in the morning. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Y'all take care.
That's the drive around the SEC. We'll be right back. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show coming at you here. Again, tomorrow on the program, Elijah and I will be broadcasting live from Columbia Craft, one of our favorite places to do a show.
I think that is my favorite place.
Good location in the South Vista.
Personally, the Sista.
That's right. Langston will be with us.
Exciting.
Wild Card Showdown tomorrow.
Time to redeem myself.
And we'll try to bring a few others along. And don't forget now, in fact, I just found a whole big mess of T-shirts. If you want me to take them with me. But, again, you can win Ole Miss tickets. Mm-hmm. We'll tell you about that in just a second. Before that, Elijah wants you to call right now if you would like to go see Nathaniel Ratliff tomorrow night in Charlotte. Then Elijah is going to give you his last pair of tickets.
That's right. I'm dying to hear your calls right now. Dying for it, please.
803.
Win these tickets. Listen to my voice.
803-404-6100. 803-404-6100. We'll say caller 5.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. And if you hear my syrupy tones, then you have won tickets.
Look at that.
And we'll take care of the rest. So.
There you go. All right. Nathaniel Ratliff in Charlotte, PNC Music Pavilion tomorrow night. Good luck. NFL is back on Thursday Night Football tonight. This is a good game. This is a good, I mean, at least on paper. The Bills and Dolphins, both 1-0. Dolphins minus 2.5 on this one. 48.5 is the over-under. Bills are at plus 125. It's time. Gunnar told us this earlier. I didn't know this stat, but he did. The Bills have won 13 of the last 15 matchups between these two teams. So, and Buffalo's been really, really good. And Dolphins are trying to get it back. But this is, you don't want to say week 2 has a statement game. Considering some of the other things that the Dolphins went through this week with the Tyreek Hill situation, they're probably a little pumped up. But I like this game tonight. And again, is it Miami's time finally? Yeah, I think that's why I say I don't want to say it's a big statement, but if the Dolphins find a way to get this one done, they're in the driver's seat in the East early, which is nice. They've got one of the head-to-heads against the Bills, which is nice. But if they don't, it'll be sort of a same old kind of a feeling, I would think. 8:15, that's on Amazon Prime. And should be interesting. So we'll see. Don't forget, too, tonight at 6 o'clock it is Carolina Calls with Coach and Todd. That should be an interesting one. Shane is very pumped up. Again, Dawn Staley, the celebrity picker, if you hadn't heard that. So they'll talk about that and more. And you probably won't get a whole lot of insight into what Carolina is going to try to do to confuse, stymie, hurt, worry LSU.
Scare them.
Just I think you got to find a way to do what you can to keep them just a little bit off balance. That's the way I look at a game like this. And we come back around to a couple of questions that we don't know the answers to. Like, and I was doing an interview in Baton Rouge earlier today, and the host I was talking with said, there's a lot of folks that believe LSU just came out not flat against Nichols, but just not with a lot of that.
Uninspired.
Yeah.
Would you say be an adequate way of saying that?
And they finally picked it up a little bit and ended up turning a close game. And if you only saw the final, you'd say, okay, LSU won by 20 whatever points.
But if you watched the first 3 quarters and didn't watch any of the fourth, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Some people are saying that about Bama and South Florida, too. It's like Bama scored 1,000 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, because South Florida had to go for it on 4th down, and sometimes that was in their own territory. And
they didn't quite score 1,000, did they? They did score, 28 in the fourth quarter?
28 in the fourth quarter, 28 in the last 5 minutes of the game. It was a 1-score game with 5 minutes left.
That is weird. It is weird. But for LSU and Carolina, and we forgot, oh, man, we ran out of time with Bill. He was going to disagree with us.
Oh, man, wow.
But we
I guess we have to have him stop by Columbia Craft tomorrow.
I don't want to do that.
Once he's done with his boat.
Yeah, one day's enough.
I'm doing it just to test the limits of your sanity after we had the noise from the basement earlier today.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all could hear it or not, but twice today, again, and Gunnar told us this too. Again, we're on the first floor of our building, but there is a basement. And apparently there was some water heater alarm that was going off. And Elijah and I began to get just a little concerned that, Were we going to become, part of like a Looney Tunes cartoon?
Which I've always wanted to do, by the way. I've always wanted to have my life end that way.
It's something.
And then I can sign off with it. That's all, folks.
Yeah, but we're not sure if it came through the microphones or not. But it happened twice, and it was the second time it became a little disconcerting.
It turns out the call was coming from inside the house. By inside the house, I mean it was below our feet.
So that was a bit much. We had fun today, and
we did.
That's part of what we do.
We had fun and got a little weird.
It did.
We can check two
again, when there's something like that going on underneath, and you have no control, when you don't really know what's going to happen or why there's an alarm going off, we'll see y'all tomorrow at Columbia Craft. So long.
Incident free.
Always love telling you about our good friends at AAA Heating and Air, and right now they have got something really cool going on for a lot of you. It is a chance for you to win a brand new HVAC system. How do you do it? Well, here's how. Roy and Dana Finley are literally now on the hunt to find the oldest AC unit in their Midlands service area. If you think it's yours, here's what you do. You log on to myoldAir.com, myoldAir.com. You complete the online entry form, all right? And if you've got a system that is barely hanging on or worse, they are going to draw a winner at random for every 100 entries. It really is that easy. Now, this is for a limited time only, and residents in the AAA Heating and Air Service area are eligible to enter. There's terms and rules on the website, but this is a big deal. AAA Heating and Air, check it out.